Ray from Jami Ray Vintage. Today's DIY is the faux grain sack. I'm going to show you how to use fairy chalk mother paint to do an applique on the back of your furniture, on a seat, or you could even make a throw pillow with it. Okay guys, our first step is going to be to tape out our stripe. If you look at antique grain sacks, you'll notice that they all have different stripe patterns. Some are in the middle, some are on the side. I've chosen to do one right down the center. I can feel the back of my seat and I can feel where the bar is. The fabric that we're doing it on is canvas dropcloth. It's really important when you paint on fabric that it's porous, so it needs to be a canvas fabric so that way the paint can soak into it. If you use a cotton, it'll work okay, but it won't hold up as well. So I'm filling the middle bar and I'm just going to go just outside of that. I'm going to go ahead, I've already got my other stripe laid out there. I'm going to put a piece of tape here and a piece of tape on the bottom so it holds my paint in. My trim is going to go across the top here so it'll cover that line. The paint that I'm using today is Fairy Chalk Mother paint. The color is Jami. It's named after me because I, Jami, order it all the time. And finally, Marcy, the gal that makes the paint for me, decided to name it after me. If you'd like to buy Jami, you can go to jamirayvintage.com. So I'm going to go ahead and brush this directly onto my drop cloth. And it's not, you don't have to put a ton of paint on because you want it to look aged. And when we're all done, I'm going to run the sanding block over it anyways. So you just want to make sure it's fairly even and you get it all in your spot. Make sure that the whole area is covered. Most antique grain sacks are not perfect anyways. Sometimes it's a little crooked or a little bit bleeds out. So if you get any imperfections, don't worry about it. It just makes it look more authentic. Now that I've got my paint on here, I'm going to go ahead and rip off my tape. You can wait till it's dry, but I'm impatient, so I like to just rip it off and check my lines. Hey, my lines look great. I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to come back with my graphic. All right, our stripe is all dry, and we're going to add our text to our faux grain sack here. I've printed out a design that I made on my silhouette. If you look up on Pinterest grain sacks, you'll see kind of what designs they have. And I just took one and made it my own. I added a French word down here for some manufacturer. I picked the year 1939, the year my mom was born, and I just put grains on the top. And then a cute little border and a couple little circles. Something you might find on a grain sack. So now that I have this made, I'm going to take and peel off the back of my vinyl. I have to go kind of slow. Make sure that I don't peel up anything that I want to keep. If you don't have a silhouette, you could probably get somebody on Etsy to make you one of these designs, or you might have a friend that has a silhouette or a cricket. All right, our backing is off, so I'm going to go ahead and place this centered on the design. The stripe kind of helps for me to see where it's going to come through. And that looks pretty well centered. I'm going to scoot it over just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So now that I've got this on here, I'm going to push this down. Okay, now I'm just going to press on all the edges and make sure that it's secure. I don't want to get bleed through of the paint. If you get a little bleed through, that's okay because it's supposed to look like an old school stamp that would have been on an old grain sack. Okay. Now I'm going to use Fairy Chalk Mother in gunmetal. It's one of my favorite colors. It's a nice smoky dark gray. And I'm just going to dab over where the stencil is. I'm going to do the whole thing like this and then I'll peel it off. I've got my paint on here. I'm going to peel off my vinyl stencil. And then it's still a little wet, so I'm gonna wait to pull off the middle and all the little detail ones until it's dry all the way, and then we'll go to our next step, which will be sanding. Our very last step for the faux grain sack is to take and sand where I've painted to soften it and to also make it a little rougher so that way it looks like it's aged. So I'm going to use my 60 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to go over this whole thing. You can see it's kind of taken off some of the paint here. I'm going to do that to this whole thing and we'll all be done. I'm so in love with the way that this project turned out. I'll be sure to have Zep snap a picture tomorrow once I get the legs and the trim put back on the chair. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more DIY.